As the years pass and our hair turns silver, many older gentlemen quietly wonder, do I still have that spark? Do people still notice me when I walk into a room? It's not vanity, it's human nature. After all, so much of our identity is tied to how the world sees us. But here's a truth you may not have considered. You might be far more attractive than you think. Not in the way youth flaunts itself with loud style or restless energy, but in a quieter, deeper way that speaks of confidence, character, and calm strength. That kind of appeal doesn't fade with age, it deepens. And while you might no longer chase compliments or glance in every mirror, others are still seeing you. And yes, they're still noticing. In this video, we'll explore 8 subtle but powerful signs that reveal you're still turning heads. And not just because of your experience or wisdom, but because there's something undeniably compelling about the man you've become. So stay with us until the end. You might just walk away seeing yourself with a new sense of pride, and maybe even a little swagger. If you find yourself nodding along, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and drop a quick comment below. Type 1 if this resonates, or 0 if you think we missed the mark. Let's begin. If you are not subscribed, subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. There's a quiet kind of charm that grows stronger with age, one that doesn't shout for attention but draws people in like a warm fireplace on a cold evening. If you've ever noticed younger women striking up conversations with you more often than you'd expect, or lingering just a little longer when the interaction should have ended, there may be more going on than simple politeness. It's not about trying to impress anyone. It's about how you make them feel when they're around you. You see, as a man in his 60s or beyond, you've likely learned how to listen more than speak, how to offer presence instead of pressure. And women, especially younger women, notice that. They feel it. In a world full of noise and shallow posturing, your steady energy stands out. You don't need to fill every silence or prove your worth with grand gestures. You've already lived through enough to know that true confidence doesn't come from loud words. It's written in how you carry yourself, how you respond with ease instead of urgency, how you laugh with sincerity instead of sarcasm. When a younger woman feels at ease in your company, it's not accidental. It's a reflection of your energy. You may not see it, but it shows up in the way she smiles when you speak, how she leans in just a bit closer, how her laugh lingers a second longer than the joke required. Something is reassuring about your presence. It's in your calm voice, the way you keep eye contact without making it a power play, how your stories don't rush but unfold slowly, like a good bourbon poured neat. You're not trying to win anyone over. That's what makes you magnetic. Younger women are often drawn to this kind of maturity, not because they're looking for a father figure or someone to take care of them, but because your energy is safe. It's grounded. It's appealing in a way that has nothing to do with chasing trends or competing for attention. They feel they can let their guard down. They laugh at your corny jokes not because they're hilarious, but because they're yours. You're not performing. You're being. And let's not ignore the way they often choose to stay close. Maybe it's during a group conversation where they drift toward your side, or the way they seem to pop up in places where you tend to be, casually offering a smile, asking how your day is going, or finding reasons to talk about nothing in particular. They aren't doing it for show. They're doing it because you feel good to be around. That sense of comfort is powerful. It says, without words, I see you. I feel safe here. I enjoy this moment. Even when nothing romantic is on the table, this ease of connection is a sign that your presence carries weight, the good kind of weight. The kind that reassures. The kind that makes someone feel they're being heard, even if you haven't said a word. That's not something young men can replicate with cologne or clever pickup lines. It's earned. It's lived. And it's attractive. So if you've ever caught yourself wondering why these younger women seem to open up to you so easily, why they share little stories about their day, or ask for your opinion on things they don't need help with, don't brush it off. That's not a coincidence. That's the connection. You've become the kind of man who doesn't just walk into a room, you settle into it. Your presence fills space without overwhelming it. Your maturity isn't stiff or distant, but quietly reassuring, like an old song they didn't know they missed until they heard it again. And when they laugh at your jokes, those dad jokes, the dry wit, the clever one-liners you toss out without thinking, they're not laughing at the words. They're laughing with the man. Because the man behind the words is confident without arrogance, playful without pretense, wise without preaching. That's rare. That's valuable. And most of all, that's you. So the next time a younger woman stays a little longer in conversation, laughs a little too easily at something you barely meant as a joke, or smiles like you've made her day just a bit better, don't dismiss it. It's a small signal of something big. You're still turning heads. Not with flash, but with presence. Not with noise, but with depth. Not because you're trying, but because you no longer have to. There's something deeply telling about a compliment, especially when it's unexpected. And when it comes from a younger woman, it carries a certain weight, even if it's said casually, in passing. I like your jacket. You always look so put together. You smell really good today. These aren't throwaway comments. They're small windows into something bigger. You're being noticed, not just for what you say or do, but for how you present yourself to the world. At your age, you've likely outgrown the need to chase trends or dress to impress anyone but yourself. And that's exactly why your style speaks louder now than it ever did when you were younger. Your clothes reflect your personality. Simple, but intentional. Classic, not outdated. Maybe it's that well-fitted blazer that hugs your shoulders just right. Or the way you pair a crisp shirt with casual slacks that say you're comfortable in your skin. That kind of style doesn't scream, it whispers confidence. And younger women pick up on it. They notice that you care about how you look, but not in a vain, showy way. Your grooming is clean. Your hair, even if it's silver or thinning, is always neat. Your beard, if you wear one, is trimmed. Your shoes are polished. And perhaps most telling of all, your scent is subtle but memorable. A touch of cologne, nothing overpowering, just enough to leave a trace after you've walked past. That's not about vanity. That's about self-respect. You see, grooming at this stage in life isn't about trying to look young. It's about honoring who you are. It says, I still care. Not because you need validation, but because you value yourself. And when you carry yourself like that, people notice. Women notice. Younger women, especially, notice. In a world where many younger men are chasing the next trend or showing up in wrinkled shirts and sneakers with no effort, your presence stands in contrast. You don't need to say much. The way you look already says plenty. It says you've lived, but you haven't let yourself go. You've aged, but you haven't faded. You've changed, but you haven't disappeared. That's attractive. So when a younger woman compliments your sweater, or asks where you got your shoes, or remarks that you always smell great, it's not just about fabric or fragrance. It's about how you make her feel when she sees you. It tells her that you're someone who hasn't given up on life, or yourself. That quiet kind of care, the subtle attention to detail, creates a sense of dignity. And dignity is magnetic. These compliments, while seemingly small, are signs of admiration. They say, you have presence. They say, you stand out, not because you're trying to, but because you are. There's a grace to the way older men wear their style. It's no longer about showing off. It's about showing up, with consistency, with care, with pride in the life you've built. And that's something younger people, especially women, see and quietly respect. So the next time someone younger tells you, you've got great style, or smiles as she mentions how polished you always look, don't brush it off as a kind gesture. See it for what it is, a reflection of the energy you project. A reflection of how rare it is, in today's world, to find someone who doesn't dress to impress, but to express. Because real style isn't about fashion, it's about character. And yours, clearly, still shines. There's a certain kind of silence that speaks louder than words, the kind that happens when someone's eyes stay on you just a beat longer than necessary. It's not flirtatious in the obvious way. It's subtle, quiet, but unmistakable once you've felt it. And if you're a man in your 60s or 70s, and you've begun to notice that younger women seem to let their gaze linger on you in social settings, don't dismiss it. There's something meaningful there. Maybe you're standing by the coffee table at a gathering, chatting with an old friend about music from the 70s, when you catch a glimpse of someone watching you from across the room. She's younger, not too young, but perhaps in her 30s or 40s. Her eyes meet yours, and instead of quickly turning away, she holds the gaze. Maybe she smiles, maybe not, but her attention stays just a second longer than what's typical in polite company. And that second feels like it stretches out in time. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. These lingering looks aren't loud declarations, they're quiet acknowledgments. They happen in places where the mood is calm, where people are relaxed, where no one's rushing. A backyard cookout, a bookstore event, a Sunday morning farmer's market. And they don't necessarily mean anything overt, but they do mean something. You see, when a woman lets her eyes rest on you longer than usual, it's often because she senses something different. Something settled. Something grounded. At your age, you carry yourself differently than you did when you were younger. You're not trying to prove anything. You're not scrambling to impress. And that stillness, that deep, unshakable confidence, is magnetic. It shows up in how you speak. You don't fill the air with unnecessary words. You listen more. You wait before answering. You look people in the eye when you talk. It shows up in your posture, how you stand, how you move. You're deliberate now. Not because you're slower, but because you're wiser. And all of that registers. To a younger woman, used to a world of distractions and noise, this quiet self-assurance stands out. You don't chase attention. You attract it. And when you do, it often reveals itself in those lingering glances. Sometimes it's curiosity, wondering who you are, what you've seen, what kind of man carries himself like that. Other times, it's admiration, an appreciation of your presence, the kind that doesn't need to be loud to be felt. And yes, sometimes, it's attraction. Not necessarily romantic, but a recognition of strength, experience, and depth. We live in a world that often praises youth, but increasingly, many are realizing that charm isn't always loud, and beauty isn't always young. There's a dignity in age, a richness that younger generations are beginning to appreciate in ways they hadn't before. When a woman looks at you for longer than she has to, it means you've caught her attention without trying. And that's one of the purest kinds of attention there is. It says, "You matter in this room." It says, "I noticed something about you that stands out." It might be the way you tilt your head when someone's speaking, the quiet way you chuckle when a story amuses you, or the thoughtful pause before you offer your opinion. These are not behaviors you planned. They are who you are now. And that version of you, mature, composed, and fully at ease in your skin, draws the eyes of those who long for something real. So if you've ever wondered whether a younger woman's gaze means something, trust your instinct. If it felt intentional, it probably was. You don't have to respond with anything but grace. A nod, a kind smile, or even just a calm acknowledgement that, after all these years, you still have a presence that speaks without saying a word. Because in a world that moves too fast, Sometimes the deepest messages are sent in silence, and received through a simple, lingering look. There comes a time in a man's life when the phone rings not because someone wants something from you, but because they value what you know. It's not the kind of attention that shouts. It's quieter, steadier. A neighbor drops by with a question about their mortgage. A younger cousin asks how to handle a rough patch in their marriage. Your daughter's friend pulls you aside at a family gathering and says, "Can I ask your opinion on something?" At first, it might catch you off guard. After all, there were years when people didn't ask. They told. They interrupted. They assumed you were too busy, too distracted, or maybe too stuck in your ways. But something's changed. Not just in them, but in you. You've lived. You've made mistakes, and you've made peace with them. You've seen enough to know when something matters, and when it's just noise. And now, people sense that about you, even if they can't quite name it. They feel steadier just being near you. When someone comes to you for advice or help, it's not because you've suddenly become wiser. It's because they've finally learned how to see your wisdom. They recognize the calm in your voice when everyone else is panicking. They notice how you sit with a problem instead of rushing to fix it. They trust your perspective because you've lived through the things they're just beginning to understand. And it's not just family. Sometimes it's a clerk at the grocery store who asks about your thoughts on retirement. Or a younger man at the gym who wants to know how you've stayed fit and sane all these years. These aren't small moments, they're signs. Signs that the world sees you not just as someone older, but as someone solid. Someone reliable. Someone whose presence alone brings a kind of quiet confidence to any room. That's rare. And that's powerful. When people start seeking you out, not for money, not for favors, but for guidance, it's because you've become something that can't be faked, a steady hand in a shaky world. They know you'll tell the truth. They know you'll listen. And perhaps most importantly, they know you won't judge them. You've seen enough of life to know it's messy. You've watched dreams fall apart and build new ones from the rubble. You've buried people you loved. You've forgiven people you thought you never could. You've walked away from jobs, relationships, and identities that no longer fit. And through all that, you've learned how to stand still without being stuck, and move forward without rushing. That's the kind of man people turn to when life gets heavy. So if lately you find yourself being pulled into quiet conversations, asked for your thoughts more than ever before, know this. It's not random. It's a sign. A mark of who you've become. You're not invisible. You're not forgotten. You're respected. And that kind of respect isn't given lightly. It's earned over decades of showing up, falling, getting up again, and doing it with grace. You've become a man people look to for more than just answers. They come to you for reassurance. For the sense that even if everything's falling apart, they'll be okay, because you've been there, and you are. In a world that often values youth, speed, and noise, you are a reminder that there's strength in silence, power in patience, and beauty in a well-lived life. And that's why they come to you. Not because you have all the answers, but because you know how to listen, how to care, and how to show up. And that is a sign of true presence. There's something quietly powerful about a man who walks into a room and doesn't need to say much. He doesn't boast. He doesn't rush to fill the silence. He doesn't need to prove a thing. Yet somehow, without effort, people are drawn to him. It's not because of flashy clothes or a booming voice. It's something deeper, something quieter. It's presence. And when a man reaches this stage in life, that presence is often one of the clearest signs that he's entered a new phase of respect, maturity, and strength. This isn't the kind of confidence you develop overnight. It doesn't come from reading a self-help book or watching motivational videos. No, this is the kind of confidence that's earned, slowly, quietly, over decades of living. It comes from facing the storms of life and realizing they didn't break you. It comes from learning that you don't have to chase approval to be worthy of it. It's the peace that settles in when you finally understand who you are, and you're no longer trying to be anyone else. People can feel it, even if they can't explain it. Maybe you're standing at a backyard barbecue, sipping your drink, listening more than you speak. Younger folks glance your way without knowing why. Maybe someone leans in to ask your opinion, even though you haven't said much all night. You give a small smile, maybe a word or two, and somehow that's enough. You didn't try to impress anyone. You just were. That's the magic of this stage in life. You've grown into yourself. The insecurities that once nagged at you have softened. The need to prove, to hustle, to win over everyone in the room, it's no longer there. You've realized that what truly matters isn't how loud you are, but how steady you are. And that steadiness? It's magnetic. You carry yourself with a quiet grace now. It shows in the way you speak. Slower, more thoughtful. It's in your posture, upright, but relaxed. It's in your eyes, clear, observant, unbothered by chaos. People sense that you're not rattled easily. You've been through enough to know that most problems aren't as big as they seem, and most arguments aren't worth the fight. That kind of calm is rare, and deeply comforting to those around you. And here's the truth most folks don't talk about. At this point in life, you are the lighthouse. You don't chase attention, it finds you. You don't have to charm people, they feel safe around you. You don't dominate conversations, yet your words land heavier than most. There's a strength in that stillness. A deep-rooted dignity. Maybe you don't even notice it. Maybe you just feel more at ease these days. You don't dress to impress, but your style is clean, classic, and unmistakably you. You don't rehearse your opinions, but when you speak, it's with conviction and clarity. You don't overthink your every move, and yet everything you do feels deliberate, thoughtful, and real. That's what people respond to. Not noise, not flash, but authenticity. And that authenticity radiates through every handshake, every glance, every quiet moment. There's a kind of leadership that doesn't come with titles or speeches. It's the leadership of presence, of showing others, just by being who you are, that it's possible to live a life of calm strength, steady values, and quiet pride. So if people seem drawn to you lately, if they linger when you're near, if they light up when you speak, know this, it's not a coincidence. It's not luck. It's the natural result of a life lived with integrity, experience, and heart. You've earned your place, not just in the room, but in the minds and hearts of those who look up to you, even if they don't say it out loud. This is what it looks like to embody true confidence. Not the kind that shouts, but the kind that simply is. And for many, especially in today's world of noise and pretense, that quiet presence is more powerful than anything else. There comes a point in life when the compliments you receive begin to change. They're quieter now. Less about the superficial, more about the essence of who you are. You're not out here trying to turn heads or prove a thing, but now and then, someone says it. A casual remark at the grocery store, a neighbor smiling as they pass you on your morning walk, a grandchild looking up and saying, "Grandpa, you don't seem old at all." And in that moment, you realize something. People are noticing. They're noticing your energy. The way you move, steadily, purposefully, like a man who still has fuel in the tank. They're noticing your posture, upright and strong, like a tree that's weathered storms but never broke. They're noticing your presence. Not flashy, not loud, but undeniably alive. You might not be chasing a six-pack, but you carry a kind of quiet strength that doesn't need explaining. It's there in how you lift your suitcase into the car without hesitation. It's in the way you hold yourself walking down the street, not hunched over, not dragging your feet, but walking tall, walking proud. You may not think of yourself as particularly fit. After all, You're not in your 20s anymore. The gym isn't your second home, and you've probably traded heavy lifting for long walks, stretches, and a bit of gardening. But none of that matters. Because what people see and admire isn't about muscle. It's about vitality. It's the spark in your eyes, the steadiness of your steps, the resilience in your body. It's the way you still stand with confidence, the way you breathe easily, move smoothly, laugh fully. There's something incredibly powerful about a man in his 60s, 70s, or 80s who still takes care of himself, not for vanity, but for life. For the grandkid she wants to chase around the yard. For the quiet moments in the morning sun. For the dignity of still being able to do what he loves, without depending on anyone. That kind of fitness, functional, intentional, grounded, is far more impressive than any gym-built biceps. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. And people see it. They feel it. They may not say it outright, but it shows in their smiles, their respect, and their admiration. They'll say things like, "You've still got a spring in your step," or "You don't look your age at all." They'll ask, half-jokingly, "What's your secret?" And you'll just smile, maybe say something about staying active, keeping stress low, or sleeping well. But deep down, you know the truth. Your strength comes from consistency, not competition. From discipline, not ego. You've learned that health isn't about looking young, it's about feeling alive. And when others notice, it's a reflection of the choices you've made. The walks you took instead of sitting still. The good food you cooked instead of reaching for junk. The effort you made, day after day, to keep yourself moving. That effort shows, quietly but unmistakably. And here's the beautiful part. You inspire people just by being you. Other men your age might look at you and rethink their routines. Younger folks might see you and realize that aging doesn't mean fading. You become a walking testament to the idea that strength doesn't end, it simply evolves. So don't brush off those compliments. Don't wave away the admiration. You've earned it. Every step you take with ease, every chore you do without strain, every morning you wake up feeling strong, that's victory. That's vitality. And it's shining through you more than you know. Because in this phase of life, real strength isn't about being ripped. It's about showing up, moving with purpose, and living with energy. And when do people notice that in you? That's the world tipping its hat to the man you've become. There's something magical that happens when you reach a certain age. Not the kind of magic that comes from money or success or looking like a Hollywood star, but the quiet, heartwarming kind. The kind that shows itself in the smallest moments. Like when you crack an old joke, one you've probably told 100 times, and she still laughs. Maybe it's your wife of 40 years. Maybe it's the woman who sits next to you at church. Maybe it's your daughter-in-law, or the kind lady who brings your coffee at the diner every morning. Whoever she is, she throws her head back, lets out a genuine laugh, and looks at you with that spark in her eye. And you think to yourself, that joke wasn't even that funny. But that's the point. It doesn't have to be. Because by now, it's not really about the punchline. It's about the warmth behind the words. It's about the comfort you carry, the calm in your presence, and the way your voice, seasoned by years of living, makes people feel safe and seen. Your humor, even when it's corny, creates a kind of ease. It lowers the guard. It reminds people that joy doesn't have to be flashy, and connection doesn't have to be loud. Back when you were young, you might have told jokes to impress. Maybe you tried a little too hard to be the life of the party. But now your humor comes from a different place. It's not performance, it's presence. It's not about cleverness, it's about closeness. You've lived through enough to know when a room needs lighting. You've learned how to read between the lines of silence, how to make someone feel better without giving advice. Sometimes all it takes is a little joke. Something simple. Something familiar. And when she laughs, it's not just politeness. It's a sign. A sign that you've made her feel something soft and human and real. Women, especially women of your generation, appreciate that kind of humor more than most. Because they know life hasn't always been easy. They've seen their share of struggle, of loss, of long days and harder nights. So when you bring a smile to their face, especially with something as simple as a playful quip or a harmless pun, it means more. It's not just funny, it's healing. Think about it. There's a reason she smiles when you tease her gently about forgetting where she put her glasses, when they're on her head. There's a reason she chuckles when you say, "My back goes out more than I do," or when you insist you're still a chick magnet, just slower now. It's not the words. It's the feeling behind them. It's that in a world that sometimes feels too fast, too harsh, too cold, you offer a pocket of warmth. And don't underestimate how attractive that is. Emotional openness. Kindness. The ability to laugh without malice. These are qualities that many men lose along the way. But you've kept them. Maybe you even sharpened them. And she sees it. She feels it. That laugh she gives you, that's not just amusement. That's the connection. You might not wear flashy cologne or drive a sports car anymore. But you walk into a room with something better. Peace. And peace is magnetic. Humor is your way of opening a door to that peace. Of saying, "Hey, life's still good. Let's enjoy the moment." And people, especially women, want that. They crave it. Especially in a world where so many men have hardened, grown bitter, or simply stopped showing up with softness in their hearts. So next time you say something silly and she giggles, don't brush it off. Don't say, "Oh, that old thing?" Instead, smile back. Own it. Because that moment, that shared laughter, is proof that you've become the kind of man who brings joy without even trying. You've learned that humor isn't just about being funny. It's about being present. About being gentle in a world that too often forgets how. And when she laughs at your old man jokes, that's not just good manners. That's her saying, "You make me feel good." And really, what better compliment is there than that? There comes a time in life, often after the noise is quieted and the rush is slowed, when you begin to notice things you didn't before. Not because you weren't paying attention, but because age brings with it a kind of clarity. You start to recognize signals for what they are, not what you hope they might be. And one day, in the middle of a conversation over coffee or at a community event, you notice something subtle. She leans in just a little closer. Her hand lingers a second longer on your forearm. She plays with her hair, smiles more often, and laughs just a bit louder at things you say. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. But it's real. You begin to see the signs. Not with the eyes of a younger man chasing approval, but with the steady gaze of someone who's lived enough to understand the quiet language of interest. Flirting, at your age, doesn't look like it did in your 20s. There's no need for showy moves or grand declarations. No games. Instead, it's in the softness of the glance, the gentle touch, the way her body turns toward yours when she doesn't have to. It might start with mirroring. You cross your arms. She does too. You lean forward. So does she. Without realizing it, her movements begin to echo yours. That's no coincidence. That's the connection. It's the body's way of saying, "I'm comfortable here. I'm in sync with you." Then there's the light touch. Maybe it's a brush on the hand when you're handing her something. Maybe it's her palm resting briefly on your shoulder when she laughs. These aren't just accidents. They're invitations. Quiet, respectful, but unmistakable. And the eyes, oh, the eyes. They hold a kind of attention that words can't match. She looks at you when you talk, not just at your face, but into you. She's not just hearing you, she's listening with curiosity, with warmth, with care. That kind of gaze is rare, and when you feel it, you know. And it's not about flattery or lust or trying to turn back the clock. It's about being seen, truly seen, for who you are now, for the man you've become, not just the man you once were. You might catch her adjusting her hair, smoothing her blouse, or fiddling with a necklace when you're around. It's not vanity. It's a kind of signaling, a way of saying, I want to look nice for you. She might compliment you more than usual, even in small ways. Your voice, the way you handled something, your choice of words. And you realize she's not just being polite. There's something tender underneath. At this stage of life, flirting is softer, wiser, and far more meaningful. It's not about conquest, it's about connection. It's not rushed. It's thoughtful, respectful, and layered with life experience. You've both seen enough of the world to know what matters. You've felt love, loss, joy, and pain. So when a woman shows you these signs now, she's not playing around. She's saying, I'm open to this moment with you. And the most beautiful part? You've earned this kind of attention, not through charm or youth, but through your presence, your patience, and your calm. She feels safe around you. Safe to smile. Safe to reach out. Safe to show that spark. So if you find yourself noticing these small things, those gentle cues, the extra glances, the soft laughs, it's not your imagination. It's something real. And it's not something to fear or dismiss. It's something to cherish. Because in a world where so many people grow colder with age, you've stayed warm. You've stayed open. And someone has noticed. There's something quietly powerful about recognizing how far you've come. Not just in years, but in presence, in energy, in the way others respond to you. When you look back on these 8 signs, you may realize they've been there all along. The ease you bring to a room, the calm in your voice when others panic, the way people lean in to hear what you have to say, that's not by accident. It's the result of a life lived with intention, with experience, with grace. Maybe you've noticed a few of these signs in your own life. A neighbor who always asks your opinion. A younger family member who watches you quietly, learning from how you carry yourself. The way someone at the grocery store gave you a second look, not because of what you wore, but because of the confidence in your step. These moments aren't always loud, but they're real. And if you haven't seen them yet, don't worry. Sometimes it takes a gentle reminder to begin noticing what was always there. Life after 65 is not about fading away. It's about shining in a different light. A steadier light. One that people are drawn to because it speaks of truth, of wisdom, of lived experience. So take a moment to reflect. Which signs have shown up in your life? We'd love to hear your story in the comments below. Your insights may just be the light someone else needs today. And if this video resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It helps more folks just like you find their way to this growing community, where age isn't the end of the story, but the start of something even richer.